For unbeatable towing capacity, family-style seating, and an intuitive infotainment system, no one brings the muscle like the 2021 Dodge Durango here at Northland Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram. With new headlamps, an updated grille, spoiler, and powerful V8 engine, the Dodge Durango displays the look and feel that makes it stand alone. The Durango is the Dodge family SUV, offering seating capacity for up to 7 passengers, with a handsome steering wheel, dashboard features, as well as a 10-inch configurable home screen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, integrated navigation, and Amazon Alexa capability. So come take a test drive with me, Kenny Thomas Jr. and the 2021 Dodge Durango here at Northland Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram.
Good morning, my Saturday morning connectors. It's a great day, it's a great morning, it's a great year, it's a great moment. Keep believing, keep hoping, keep hope alive. Live from the new studios, the Marketplace Connection is on the air. I want you to leap into your destiny, upgrade your thinking, expand your capacity, because God wants to give you more. You are more than what you have become. Good morning, my Saturday morning connectors. I am so glad to be with you once again on this great and glorious morning. Why do I call it that? Because it is. You are here, you are alive. And I want you, this is what I want to say to you this morning. I want you, no matter how you feel, I want you to get up, dress up, show up, and never give up. Okay? Because, why do I say that? Because there is so much for us to do. We don't have time to give up. We don't have time to be depressed. I'm telling you, I do understand there has been so much going on in the earth, but you can never give up, because there is still a plan and a purpose for your life. And so I just want you to know that I am here today, that I am here to encourage you, that I am here to inspire you and to uplift you. So if you get up, if you get dressed, and if you show up, you can look up. It's a great day. It's a great morning. And so I welcome you. I am your host, Linda Hunt. And welcome to the Marketplace Connection. And I am so happy to have you here with me today and with my wonderful guests. And I want you to just sit back, relax, get you a cup of coffee, okay? Take some copious notes, because we're going to be talking about nonprofit. Okay, the nonprofit side of business. And for those of you that are in business, or those of you that anticipate about getting into business, there is another side to the profit side of business, the nonprofit side. So if you have an organization, or if you have a mission, if you have any of those things that you want to do, the nonprofit specialist is here today with us. Yes, ma'am. Yes. I welcome today my guest, Orletta Caldwell. Yes. Thank you so much for coming and being with us today, Orletta. Thank you. And I've had her here before, and we've talked about the nonprofit, and I have had people just recently start asking me about nonprofit and information. And so I really wanted to bring that aspect into the Marketplace Connection today, and I knew you were the person.
And I'm going to receive that. COVID helped me receive that. I am your nonprofit expert.
All right. Yes. Amen. Come on now. Come on. We got to, you know what? I'm telling you, because my producer, CEO, and, he's my book publisher. He's all of that, okay, in a bag of chips. And he calls me the anthology doctor. And I'm like, what? I'm not, I'm a strategist. He said, no, you're the anthology doctor, right? And he's a prophet. And so somebody else came to me and they say, I like that. I feel God on that for you, And so sometimes we have to receive what God says to us and for us, okay? And sometimes we try to play down things because we don't want to, that's a little bit much,
Yeah, but it's like when God told Moses, "You're going to pull the people out of the promise,
Yes.
take them to the promised land," and he kept saying no. That's not right.
That's
so
it.
that's why I receive it.
Amen.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, I received the fact that you receive it.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking, Orletta, she has a business called Beyond Existing Enterprise.
Yes.
Okay, and so we're going, if you're looking to start or grow your nonprofit organization, she is the person that can help you. And so I really want those of you that have talked to me about nonprofit and asked me, did I know anybody? Well, I brought her here today especially for you.
Yes.
And so I want you to listen, and I do want you to we will have her name and, everything up on the board, all of her information. I want you to get in touch with her, and this is the time for you to go forth. If you have any plans, any missions, or anything that you want to do that is in the area of nonprofit, she is the person that can really help you out, okay? So, you have been in the business for over 12 years.
Yes.
Okay, so what was your reason or inspiration to get into the nonprofit sector of the business and teaching that?
Okay.
Because I know you teach as well.
I call myself a nonprofit education professional.
Okay.
And so the inspiration about Beyond Existing Enterprises, my name is basically saying that I want to do more than just beyond existing. So that was the genesis of the name. But the inspiration of my role as a nonprofit consultant came because back, I think 2006, we remember Enron, and then Congress changed a lot of laws about nonprofits. And I happened to work for Christian Camp and Conference Association out in Colorado Springs, and my mentor was the treasurer. And I knew he was getting the company, the organization positioned for all these new laws. So I was thinking about my people back in Detroit, and I said, these people don't even know what's going on. And that's when I decided I wanted to build my expertise. I'm still working on my doctorate in nonprofit management, but I wanted to build a company that will educate, particularly our folks.
Oh, yes.
About what it means to run a nonprofit, what it means to be compliant, and what you have to do to be sustainable.
Okay.
All the capacity building. And most of our nonprofits are smaller, so I was trying to figure out a way, how do I do this and still eat? So that's been an evolution. But I really think it's important because we're the ones that's on the ground.
Right.
And we're helping ourselves even when society doesn't want to help us. So I just want to make sure, and I feel like it's my ministry too.
Amen.
To make sure
it is
that we're compliant and
Unites us
sustainable.
all.
So we
Yes.
can help our community.
Join the
Yes. Amen.
Yeah.
And anything that we do, it is a ministry. We can take our gifts, our purposes, our callings, we can take it to the marketplace.
Right.
And now marketplace ministry, I think people are finally waking up to the fact that marketplace ministry is really a ministry.
It's a ministry.
It is. And you can be in the business sector, working wherever you are, and use that to the glory of God.
Right.
Because it's your gift. He gave it to you.
He gave it to me.
That's right. And so you can use it, and people can be blessed by it, because there are so many people that I know that I run into that are always, looking for information or looking for someone that can help me. Do you know anybody that can help me start a nonprofit? You know anybody can tell me, how do I go about it? So you don't have to, suffer alone.
Right.
You don't have to do it alone. Get you somebody that can help you. And somebody that can help you do it right. Because so many times, you could probably talk about that a little bit.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Let's talk about that. How sometimes people can do things and they could really mess it up for themselves trying to do it on their own without, a lot of times not wanting to spend the money and not wanting to get the help and thinking that they can do all of the paperwork. And I really don't know what's involved in it.
Paperwork.
Okay.
Well, and I can explain, because there's a lot of myths around nonprofits.
Okay.
First of all, when you start a nonprofit, a lot of people, because I cringe, because they always want to treat you like they're starting a club.
Okay.
A nonprofit is a corporation status.
Okay.
It says that you're a nonprofit corporation. And you
Okay.
have to incorporate through the state. So you're starting a business. And the
Okay.
reason why the government and society said we can have a nonprofit is because we're saying the mission that you want to do on behalf of society is so wonderful that we're not going to charge you federal corporate taxes on it. And so, but because you're doing such a wonderful thing and we're not going to have you pay taxes, you got to be public, you got to be open, and most of all, you got to make sure that you're not getting personal benefit from it. We're not saying you got to go broke.
Okay.
We're not saying that you don't get your expenses returned, but that means there's going to be more scrutiny on you. So there's more paperwork. That's what I'm trying to say the nice way.
Okay.
So first of all, you can't just say I'm running a charity and it's tax deductible unless you file incorporation papers with the state. And you have to have at least 3 people on the board and you file your incorporation.
Okay.
Then you go to the federal level and you say, you're telling the IRS that, yes, we've incorporated with whatever state in the country. In Michigan, it's a $20 fee to incorporate with the state. And then you file what's a 1023. And that costs, and here's the thing, people, they say, I want to be a nonprofit. It costs it could be a $600 or $275 fee with some parameters just to file the 501c3. So
Okay.
what they come to me and I'm like, I charge what I charge. The IRS charges a fee for you to file for that 501c3. And people don't realize that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you charging for the help that you're giving them to do the paperwork.
Right, but I don't charge, and then there's the other fees.
And then there's the other fees.
Right. So bottom line, what I tell people is you don't have to start a nonprofit corporation to be nice. You can actually start a business and be really nice. It's just saying that if anybody gives you any donations, it's not tax deductible. One thing that people don't realize too when they start a nonprofit corporation, any assets that's placed in the name of the nonprofit, they said that one of the standards is it has to be in there for perpetuity. So one of my examples is you start a daycare. And you may have an at-home daycare.
So so you can start a daycare and it could be a nonprofit?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you give donations for the kids and all that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if you set it up as a nonprofit, but this is what people do. They put the car and the house in the name of the nonprofit, thinking they're shading out some taxes. You're talking about people getting in trouble. But what they don't understand is, even if you dissolve your daycare, you can't wake up one day and say, I don't want to do this nonprofit daycare, dissolve it. Then the assets, the house or the car, either has to be given to another nonprofit or the proceeds from the sale has to go to the nonprofit. And when you dissolve your nonprofit corporation, the IRS is going to ask you, so what happened to the assets? Because one of the standards of having a nonprofit is that assets, the name of the nonprofit has to stay in a nonprofit for perpetuity. So I just dissolved the nonprofit about a year ago. So the money we had left, I had to have it donated to another nonprofit because you have to establish where that, you can't just say, I'm going to take it out and now it's my money. You can't do that. And so that's some of the things that people do to get themselves in trouble. Another thing people do in a nonprofit is, I'm losing my train of thought. They don't pay the fees. So like every corporation in Michigan, you have an annual fee. Nonprofits is typically $20 every October. If you don't file that $20 within 3 years, they'll revoke your corporation status. And I've had
for $20.
For $20. And I've had an organization do that. And I'm checking to see what's going on because, I come in.
But do they send you the paper?
They send you,
yeah. Because I know with the LLC, you get it.
Right.
It's every year, I believe. It's $25. Yeah.
But you'll be surprised. And people forget to do it. And then they revoke the corporation status. On the federal level, and that's what happened with the Sarbanes-Oxley, that was the rules that changed. It used to be if you had a certain threshold, you didn't have to file what we call, our tax form is the 990. What happens now is if you don't file that postcard, it's a 15-minute postcard at a certain level. If you don't file your 990 for 3 years, they revoke your 501c3. And we had over 10,000 organizations because they didn't know the rule had changed. This was back in like 2007, 8. A lot of them had their 501c3 tax exemption revoked. And that was simply because they didn't take the time to learn the rules. Another problem, 501c3s, they think no tax. That's not true. You're not taxed for your corporate tax, the profit that you receive as an organization. So one thing they don't do, they don't pay any taxes. So then they don't pay the employee taxes. They don't pay local property taxes, or whatever taxes that you still have to pay, because they think, I don't have to pay taxes. And then they get themselves in trouble. And I've had an organization that had to go back 12 quarters and fix their tax. Yeah, on the federal and the state level. I had to go back and talk to the IRS and the state Treasury Department. We had to go back and fix.
I'm sure they owed money.
Well, that was one thing. One quarter they paid, one quarter they didn't. And another thing people understand is if you don't file the paperwork and just send a check, they don't know what to do with it, so they just consider you didn't. There were penalties. But I just cranked out like 3-4 years worth of taxes.
So what about churches that are nonprofit?
Okay.
They operate under the same type of or different.
Well, it's kind of different. See, the thing is, the United States, we have the standard of separation of church and state. It's not a constitutional right. But we believe in separation of church and state. So legally, if you file with the state, still you're supposed to. You're ecclesiastical nonprofit. And you're still a nonprofit. You don't pay corporate taxes, the same kind of things. But what happens if you're faith-based, a lot of corporations and grant foundations won't donate to you because you push your faith. So what a lot of churches do is open up a separate 501c3 that's secular in nature, and they're promising that they won't proselytize. But churches are basically nonprofits. It's just little subtle differences because of the separation of church and state. And they don't have to file with this federal government to have the tax exempt status because they get it as a nature of being an ecclesiastical organization.
So if they have employees on staff?
They have to. That's when I was talking about the employment church taxes. It was mostly churches. Because I'm a church girl. I started off as a church girl. Okay. Yeah, churches are the ones that got it. When I started Beyond Existing, I was thinking of churches because they're usually, I hate to say, they're usually the messiest ones. So, yeah, they don't pay the employment.
Come on, tell the truth.
They don't pay the it was bad. They don't pay the employment taxes. They don't understand things like, I always get in trouble with this one. Because I teach at Schoolcraft. I was just talking about leadership.
Right.
The board of the nonprofit is the owners, not the founder, and not even really the pastor per se. It's supposed to be that church board that actually runs the church. The pastor is more like the executive.
Wait a minute.
I know. I'm about to get myself in trouble.
Say that one more time for the people in the back.
The nonprofit, in a nonprofit, it's the board. The board is the ownership. The board is the one that sets the policies.
No, okay, no.
Okay.
Now let me just make kind of get a distinction here. Is the board separate from the elders and the deacons, or
whatever you consider your board?
Okay.
Because it could be called elders. It could be I'm Presbyterian in the session.
Okay.
But that's the people who actually, and the pastor may be on it board.
Okay.
But it's the board. That's how it's supposed to run. And then and typically, if I can put it anyway, like the pastor's the executive director. But the executive director is the management. But the management's still supposed to do what the board says. And so when people say, well, the pastor did this, the pastor did this, I'm like, I understand it because the board allowed them to do it. Either if you didn't say anything or if you didn't say anything, that's up to you. That was a board decision. But ultimately, it's the board. And I'm not saying you don't do what
right.
If you do it correctly, you're partnering.
Right.
And I find the most effective pastors are the ones that work with the board and they let their board use their strength. And then they, like, the Bible said, like Peter said, I teach the word of God. But I'm not going to tell anybody how to run their churches.
Right.
But that's how
you're
a nonprofit,
giving a structure.
Right. That's how the nonprofit runs. And so that's why typically when you get into a situation with a nonprofit and the executive director did something wrong, it still goes back to what was in those minutes and what did the board say? Because the board is the entity, which is another issue. People start nonprofits and get all their family and friends. And I'm like, start getting your family and friends. Get some expertise on your board. Get some people who are sold out for the mission and is willing to resource it and do the work that they need to do as a board and make proper decisions.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a lot of
teaching us today, girl.
I'm on my bully because I was teaching class and I just see this stuff all the time.
Yes.
And it's just so aggravating. But that's how if a nonprofit is running correctly, it's so much. You're running a business. I keep telling people you're in business. It's just that you're driven by your mission, not profit.
Right.
You're driven by the mission. So
yes.
I actually call Peter Breckenhoff is a guy. He's an author. I loved his stuff, and he writes about the nonprofit. And he calls us the mission-based organization because everything we do should emanate from that mission. Yeah, and people don't understand that. Wow. It's not about the profit; it's about the mission.
Right,
yeah.
Right. Do you ever get a chance to go into any churches? I mean, if people would call you or anything, do you do teaching?
Oh, I would love
workshops?
to. Yeah, I have a workshop. I have different workshops. And it's funny we're talking about church because that's where the heart started.
Yeah, right.
But church.
Right.
So I've been doing more of the secular thing. But yeah, my church, my genesis was helping faith-based organizations because I just believe, we're supposed to do things in decency and order.
That's right.
And I'm not seeing it.
Right.
But yeah, I would love to, and especially the Black church.
Yeah.
And
I think a lot of it is just, I think, out of just really ignorance, not really knowing,
right,
and thinking knowing, because of the fact that I'm the pastor, I'm the leader, I know the word and all of those things. But that, and that's one thing I believe that our pastors has to learn, that you have to have confidence in the people that God has put around
right.
you. You can't. No one person knows everything.
Right.
And there are people that are sitting in the pew. That's why I do the Marketplace Connection. There are people that are sitting in the pew that has the expertise, that has the knowledge, the education of things that you just don't know.
Right.
Because you don't know everything. God didn't put, all of it in one person.
Right. Well, my scripture that I based everything on is Acts 6, when Stephen was martyred. And I always tell people he was a deacon. And just because he was handling administrative stuff, because I have the gift of administration, doesn't mean he wasn't spirit-filled.
Right.
The world doesn't kill martyrs if they weren't spirit-filled. So it's okay, so I always said I work in the spirit of Stephen. I was an administrator, but I'm spirit-filled, and yes, I know my word, but I'm an administrator. So that's your gift. What I do, and my gift is to shore up the administration in the ministry. So, and then I look at things, I can tell a pastor, because I've worked with a lot of pastors, and I'll be like, okay, put your pastor heart down. No. But they're pastors, so you're like, okay, but no.
Right,
so, yeah.
Right. And that's why God have you in the body.
Right.
So you can teach and you can do things in excellence, in the spirit of excellence, like you said. So we need you. Organizations need you. Those that are in the nonprofit sector, you need somebody like Orletta Caldwell to be able to help you. So please get in touch with her. Give them your number.
You can reach me at 313-829-0034.
829-0034?
0034, yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right, okay.
Yep.
We have a viewer question if you wouldn't mind answering.
Okay.
The viewer is Carol Davis. She would like to speak with you about starting a scholarship. She wants to know, is that considered a nonprofit or is it something different?
If you want to start a scholarship fund, yes, it can be a nonprofit. You probably want to set up a foundation. Okay. And that can fall under there's little different parameters when you get to the federal level. And you can see and there'll be different questions, but yes, that's under the nonprofit associations. 501c3. It's a charity.
Right, right.
Yep.
And our number again for Carol Davis that asked that question is 313-829-0034.
Yes.
So be sure and get in touch with her. So can you have a church, we'll start there, that can have a nonprofit or either anything outside of nonprofit where they don't have to be like government attached? I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, they can set up a separate nonprofit, and they
Okay.
don't have to get funds from the government or
Okay.
corporations. And a lot of them, they call them CDCs, Community Development Corporations, but those are actually just nonprofit associations. And they can, a lot of them do. They have a housing. They have their housing, and it's a separate board. It's a separate board. But they can have both simultaneously. I've seen situations where the nonprofit handles, all the outreach ministry for the church, and they actually have things like the CDC rents from the church for $1 a year. But you have to have completely separate boards.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the only thing. It's just a matter of paperwork and structure.
Okay.
But it's perfectly legal. Yeah.
Now, when you have the nonprofit, I mean, you are still governed by whatever the guidelines are by the government.
Yes.
Okay. So when they say separation, I'm not real sure I understand that separation of church and state, but yet you're getting funding or tax exemptions and all of that from the government. How is that separate?
Because the separation church and state is just a philosophy, truthfully. It was something Thomas Jefferson wrote to these Baptists, and he was just saying, basically, the Constitution says that we don't have an established church in the United States. So, like in England, they have the Church of England, and that's the official church. In the United States, we didn't want to do that. So we don't have, the Constitution is basically saying the government's not going to establish a church.
Okay.
But in that vein, Thomas Jefferson wrote it, our philosophy is that you can worship the way you want, any way you want, and the government's not going to infringe on it. So one of the things we do, and this is a uniquely United States thing, since we were one of the first countries that actually had a lot of charity to people who couldn't help themselves. So we say as a philosophy in our country, we're not going to tax you for doing good work on behalf of society. So one of the benefits is that we will exempt you from paying corporate taxes. Because again, you are a corporation. We're just not going to charge you corporate taxes for your mission. What we're hoping you do is take that money that you save on taxes to do more into the mission, because you're doing everything for the mission. And then because we're allowing you to do this on behalf of the mission, you're going to have, like I said, more scrutiny, and no one can personally, I can't start a nonprofit and just be raking in all the dough and get dividends, and my board doesn't get dividends. We're supposed to be driven by our mission to help whatever it is. Another misnomer.
Wait, hold on. The board's supposed to get dividends too?
No, that's what I'm saying. They're not supposed to get anything. They're supposed to just be sold out for this organization. Matter of fact, the board's supposed to be trying to get some funds into that organization. Right. It's their job. That's why when people be hopping on these boards, I'm like, stop. Find out what your financial responsibility is. Because if anything that's, you're the owners. Anything that's going on with the organization is your responsibility.
Okay.
And you're volunteering. Now, you can get some expenses. I was on a board that we had to fly out to meetings, so I was reimbursed for that. But you never get paid on a nonprofit board. There are no stipends, or you're not supposed to. I'm not going to tell you what people do, but you're not supposed to.
Okay.
You're supposed to be so sold out for the mission that you're giving your time, talent, and treasure towards that organization.
Okay.
And that's how it's supposed to work.
So, the board.
It's the board. And people neglect that part. We look at the executive director, we be looking at staff, and I'm like, no, it's the board.
So the board should be sold out for the mission to be bringing in funding for that particular mission, whatever that project is, whatever they're doing. And you really don't see a lot of that, and really good.
They won't even fundraise. I look at some boards and you don't even have them fundraise. And now it's a misnomer that all nonprofits are small. They're not. Blue Cross Blue Shield is a nonprofit. But a nonprofit is a nonprofit, and if you're on a board, you're you're the one to focus, we should be focusing on. The executive director, even if they're the founder, still should be, the board sets the parameters on how the executive director does their work. There's no such thing as an executive, a founder. Save the Children, you remember that guy?
Uh-huh.
His board kicked him out of his own organization. Yeah.
So what about like colleges that are biblically based, that are universities, Southern Baptist?
Education is, they're nonprofits.
They're nonprofits.
The public ones, yep.
Okay, because I know some of them the directors have been kicked off for various reasons. Yeah, recently.
Yep.
Wow.
You report to the board.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, well, there's a whole lot of structure that needs to go
Yeah,
on.
and it's and that's why there's so many myths and people come up, and because we're going to talk, I do grant writing.
Okay, yeah, I was getting ready to get to that. So let's talk about that, okay?
Yeah, so, well, since
Okay.
we talk about grants, because when people come to me as a consultant, the first thing out of their mouth is talking about grants.
Okay.
And I'm like, what do you do? What's your services? What's your mission? The first thing I use, like, what's your mission? They can't even articulate that. So how are you going to get some money and ask people for funding, and you can't even articulate what you do? Their board is almost non-existent, and then they always want me to write a grant for a program that don't exist. It's almost like they want me to search out grants and then write the program for it. It doesn't work that way. The way it's supposed to work is the board gets together, strategic planning throughout the organization. What's our goals? What's our priorities? Really hashing out what's our mission, and how do we flesh out this mission? And what's our vision? How are we going to incorporate this mission? What would life look like if we achieved our mission? And you come up with your priorities in your programs. And once you figure that out, then you come to somebody and ask them to write a grant, because then I know the parameters of what you're looking for. I've only had really one person that's come to me about writing a grant that kind of understood, this is what we're looking for, this is our priorities, and it makes my life a lot easier trying to write a grant.
That's for any corporation.
Thank
so
you.
let's
Go
talk
ahead.
a little bit about, let's break down some of these things. Okay, when you say priority, what do you mean by that?
Well, here's one thing. Okay, so you establish your mission, and you say, my mission is to help teenagers learn how to read, something simple.
Okay.
That's your mission.
Okay.
And then you talk about your priorities. We're going to help people in Detroit, teenagers, urban, it could be a certain area. We're going to use it. We're going to provide them with experiences and opportunities to learn how to read. And you map that out. Because here's the thing that people don't understand too. Your mission, the mission you tell the IRS, that's what's tax deductible. So if you say your mission is to help teenagers and you get an opportunity to do early childhood, you can do that, but that's not exactly tax exempt. Because you told the IRS this. And so if it's not tax exempt, somebody may donate to your early childhood program, but it's not exactly tax deductible because you told the IRS, and the IRS does ask on your 1023. They make me break down, because I do a lot of setups. They ask me to break down, what are your programs, what are you going to be doing? They want to know. Because that's what's tax exemptable. So you can't just say, I got my 501c3 and run around and do what you want. So that's why you want to really sit down and discuss, what's our mission?
Okay.
And know the parameters. So if you say teenagers,
now, let's talk. Tell us, what is a mission? How do you form your mission?
Your mission is, what do you want to do?
Okay.
One nonprofit I'm personally trying to think about working on is financial education.
Okay.
And so I'm trying to work up, what exactly do I want to do? So I want to provide resources and education and training for financial education. So that's going to be my mission. So
That's
everything we
mission.
do is financial education.
All right.
So as a board, I got to put in my back and my brain. So does that mean in the future I may be interested in providing loans? And what are all these parameters? And Well, a priority to be too right now. I only got 3 people, including myself, and I don't have enough time. So my mission is financial education. So maybe I want to broaden it someday where I'm offering, more services. But the board can say, sweetheart, we only got 3 people. We can't do all that. So our priority now is just to set up workshops.
Because we have to be raising this money and doing whatever we're supposed to be towards the mission.
Right. So our mission is financial education.
Okay.
But then the board comes the first year. Okay, now we're just going to do workshops, just like any business. This is our capacity. Then maybe another year we're going to hire some more people in the next 5 years. So our priorities change. So not only are we going to offer education, financial education, maybe we consider finding resources and partnering with people to see how they can get loans, or we can teach them how to do their credit reports. And so those are those priorities, but everything emanates from that mission. I'm going to provide people with financial education.
Got it.
Right.
Okay. Now, the vision is like the overarching
How I'm going to do it.
Okay.
The mission, this is financial education. Now vision, I envision a world where everybody knows how to properly handle their money. That's my vision.
Okay.
And I'm going to go, and how am I going to get them to that?
It's the broader sense.
It's the broader, it's the rubber meets the roll, how we're going to do that. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then the mission actually gives you the steps.
The mission is everything so if my mission is financial education, why am I out here passing out food? And you've seen nonprofits do it. I've seen it. It has nothing to do with your mission.
My producer is loving this.
But yeah, so because we say we're mission based. You don't see, Ford used to own Frigidaire, but they went back to their core competencies, because even for-profits know, what's my core competency? What do we do here? We manufacture cars. And even Ford evolved and said, we're mobility. Nonprofits, it's the same thing. What are we here for? We don't make a profit. Everything we do emanates from that mission, period.
Now, can you make a profit in the nonprofit?
It's called a reserve. Yes, you can.
Okay.
The organization I worked for that I mentioned before that I was working at, they had $1 million reserve.
I like that nonprofit.
Yeah. Oh, that's why I call him my mentor. Yeah. And that's another thing. Nonprofits don't have to be broke. We're just not taxed on our profit, but they had the reserve. I had another organization, their issue was, how do we invest our reserve? Where do we, and that's another thing. The board sat down, when can we touch this reserve? Under which circumstances do we touch this reserve? What banks do this reserve go to? How do we invest this reserve? Because we may have a project, and see, everybody keeps talking about grants, but you want unrestricted money. So when an opportunity comes up, you can pay for it. Everybody keeps running for grants. You need to raise some money. That's when you hear that word social entrepreneurship, because people are realizing, I can't just depend on begging or something. It's okay as a nonprofit to charge for fees for some of your services, but you want some unrestricted money, because what people don't understand, let me go back to grants.
Okay, go ahead.
People don't understand by grants, if I invest in your organization, and I call grants investments because nobody gives you money. They're investing in it. Their return on investment is that you're going to push your mission and help some folks. So I invest in partnering with your organization with the grant money. I want to give you this money for a specific reason. You have to use that money for the specific reason that they gave it to you for. That's restricted. So you can't decide, I'm broke and I have to pay DTEs, let me hit this grant money. You can't do that. That's restricted funds. If somebody gives you money for a scholarship, you can't decide, well, that scholarship's nice, but we got to patch this up, because that's a problem churches have. I'll tell you about the church thing.
Okay.
That's restricted funds. The church thing, the law actually says you have a building fund, and I donate money to the church specifically for the building fund, and you spend it for something else. I know they have that little thing where they said we have the right to send the money elsewhere, but when you give money for a restricted reason, they have to spend it on that reason. That's by law. They can tell me all about they can make those different decisions. That's true when it's unrestricted. But if I donate towards a fund or a capital campaign or whatever you have, and the ubiquitous building fund is supposed to go towards the building fund.
And the IRS does investigate.
And they do. And you don't want to be caught thinking they won't, and then that day they do. Just, and that's why it was this passion in me to be compliant.
Right.
Do things in decency and order. Yeah.
Wow, that is great. So tell us the other nonprofits other than the 501c3. Did we talk about that?
Well, it's the 501 because we fall under 501c3. That's the charitable organizations, but there's the nonprofit. It's the Act 501c. You got a 501c6. Those are associations. So if you have an association, I just talked to a group yesterday. We was talking about set up associations. They can fundraise, but under that 501c6, it's not tax deductible if you donate to them. Then another one people should know about is the 501c4.
Okay.
That is your nonprofit, however, because when you're a 501c3, you're not allowed to lobby. It's subtle, but you don't supposed to be partisan. So as an executive director of an organization, I can't go out and say, I'm against proposal, 6 because it's such and such and such. We're not allowed to do that. We're not allowed to say, vote for that candidate. What we can do is what's called advocacy. We can talk about the issue. So like if it was, somebody wants to vote for a proposal to have payday lending, we can talk about the issues of what payday lending does and why this could be harmful. But we can't say, hey, vote against it. And if we want to talk about a political campaign, like we just came out the political season,
Right.
we can hold voter education. We have to invite both people. We have to make sure, we can do voter registration, but we can no way look like we're partisan. Now, me as...
So in other words, you can't tell who to vote for.
Absolutely
as the
not.
candidate
All you can do
who
is
to vote for.
educate about the election, and you can say this person's for this and
this is-
against
yes.
this. This
Right.
person's for this.
This
and
is their
against this.
campaign. This is their, this is what they're, talking about, what they're going to do,
Right.
and you can vote for that person, But like you said, you have to be partisan. So
You can, nonpartisan.
I mean nonpartisan. I'm
right.
sorry, nonpartisan.
So what some nonprofits do, you have to have a completely separate organization again. It's the 501c4, and that's the people that can do the more electoral stuff, education and all that. But I had a girlfriend whose organization did that, and she said, you better have separate file cabinets. Everything better be separate, because the 501c3 cannot get engaged in that. The 501c4 can. They can push for a
Okay.
proposal and all that and raise the money for it, and they can be more partisan, but it has to be separate. And so, and the reason I'm like, you can lobby, but I went through a workshop on nonprofit lobbying. Let's just say it was 3 hours. If you don't know, pay somebody to find out.
Right.
Yeah, that is their expertise before you can set those up. Which comes to, if you're going to own a business, I heard you say that you got to spend some money. I've been telling my students that you got to spend some money.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And you need someone, again, an expert, like Orletta, again. We do want you to tap into her. She has the expertise and the heart for doing what she does. And so, again, please give them your number again one more time, and so that way they can get in touch with you, and and hopefully take advantage of the expertise and the knowledge that she has and the experience, because that's what she has. She has the experience behind her. So go ahead.
Yeah, it's 313-829-0034. Or you can look for Beyond Existing Enterprises on Facebook. It's under BEE LLC Detroit.
BEELLC
Detroit. And you can find my page. You can reach me there too.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so if you're looking to do grant writing, she does that. She can help you with grant writing. So if you need someone and you're trying to set up your organization or you're trying to get funding for your organization, please see someone that can help you, give you the expertise, the knowledge that they have to be able to do it right. Because you don't want to have to, when it's time, you're paying taxes, and you don't want to have to go back and have to pay taxes on something that you could have gotten the information right from the beginning and done it right. Okay? So tell us a little bit about, you also assist clients with marketing and graphic designing as well. Do you still do that?
Well, it's so funny. COVID has made me so busy.
Well, that's a good
But
thing.
what I'm doing now is I can help you, and I can help you find somebody.
Okay.
And so what I'm working with another organization to help me outsource some of the information, and I can find, and I know some graphic designers that can help you too.
Okay.
But I can show you how, the foundational things and get you the right person.
Okay.
Yeah. I have one lady she's my girl. She does just nonprofit accounting.
Okay.
Because people don't want to pay for accountants. Get a nonprofit and get somebody.
accountant.
Here's the thing: when you get these experts, when you get an attorney, when you get an accountant, get somebody who understands nonprofits. It's a different animal.
Okay. Different dynamics.
Right, and there's
Okay.
different ways, laws, for like accounting. You got the restricted funding and all that stuff. It's a different animal. And I try not to be an expert in everything. That's why I try to find people that work with you.
Right.
One more thing about the grant writing that I didn't. If you getting a freelance grant writer like myself, we have to be licensed through the state and we have to be bonded.
Okay.
You can look me up on the state of Michigan Beyond Existing Enterprises and you'll see I'm bonded. Ask that question first of a freelance grant writer.
Okay.
Make sure they're licensed and insured, and I'm insured.
Okay.
I'm even insured for the advice I give. So that's why I'm very careful about the advice I give. But make sure these people, because there's a lot of people talking, like nonprofits, make sure they know what they're talking about and they can back it up. And so one of the things, I am insured and I am licensed through the state as a professional fundraiser.
Yeah, there's so many scams out there.
So many. And a grant writer
yeah.
shouldn't be telling you a percentage of the grant. That's unethical in our field. You can't promise they're going to get the grant. All you can do is write it and do it, the best job you can. You can't promise them a grant. And you're supposed to have a fee. You don't supposed to be getting a percentage of the grant. That's unethical.
Say that one more time.
It's unethical in our field to be getting a percentage of the grant, because people will say, well, you just get a percentage. No, that's not how it's supposed to work. You're supposed to charge a fee.
Okay. All right. Okay. Oh, you heard it now, folks. All right. We're getting this thing in order, okay?
Right. Decency and order.
That's right. I want you, and that's why we bring people like Orletta here to do what you do and to do it right. Okay? And so you have people that can help you, people that look like you. Okay? Come on now.
Yeah, and that's why I did it, because,
People that look like you, that can help you and that can do it right. And so I want you to get in touch with her and get your organizations, because I know there are people that have come to me and have asked me, do you know anybody? No, I don't do it, but I do know someone, and that's why I brought her here today. So I want you to get in touch with her so you can get those businesses or get those organizations started and get it done now. This is the season and the time that we can go forth and do what God. There's money out there, right? There's money out there. And we can go forth and do what God has called us to do. This is the season and the time for missions and getting out there. Jesus was the greatest mission person there was in the marketplace, doing things, helping people, feeding programs, clothing people, doing whatever. And that's what he said, when you've done it unto the least of these, you've done it unto me. And so, we want you to take the time to call her, get in touch with her, and get your organization set up and doing some of the things that you've been thinking about doing and going ahead and just doing it. When you said something about the having a child care, I never thought about a child care because I was just talking. In fact, my daughter was, that's something that she's been, talking about. And I never thought about a child care being a nonprofit.
Yeah, because well, another thing you can do is you can have a for-profit business.
Okay.
And then you have the nonprofit side. And so a lot of it you can, and then they have a hybrid.
For the raising of the money and doing different things.
You can sponsor different things. And then there's this, I call it a hybrid, and it's different. The L3C, it's the hybrid, where you're a low for profit. You can, organization, you can benefit from it, but you're also doing a mission-driven thing. And it's only 14 states, including Michigan, is the only one that has that you can have that kind of company. It's more expensive to start up because you have to have an attorney actually fill out all the paperwork. But that's what we're talking about, because it's so hard as a nonprofit. You got to raise the funds because you're running a business and you got all these expenses and stuff. And I'll say you like to eat, and especially when you're doing all this work, so you're trying to find a way to eat. So they call it the L3C. So it's like a business, but it's mission driven, and it's really different. It's newer, so I'm learning more about it. But I know typically to sign up for one of those, it's going to be a higher cost to get in. But it's maybe something you can do. But I do know some people that have. I think one girl I know, she has a tutoring company that's for profit, but she needs to raise money to help kids. So she can get the money to help the kids that need tutoring and can't afford it.
So you can have a business side and alongside of
it's a structured thing,
okay.
Right? Just make sure it's structured and separate.
Okay, all right.
Which is, in that case, so like if you had the daycare, if you had a for-profit daycare and a nonprofit portion, I always tell people, put your assets in the name of the for-profit. And then that way, if you dissolve the nonprofit, you can retain your assets. You just have the nonprofit rent, lease the car and the house from the for-profit. But then when you close the nonprofit, you don't have to have that money go to another,
I never knew that you, when you close a nonprofit, that you had to give all of the assets
to another nobody. Yeah, nobody.
I never knew that.
Another thing people don't know. When they have a nonprofit, this is another thing churches do.
Come on,
when they rent out their buildings,
you're
supposed to rent them out at a marketable rate, the market price.
So if they have a building and they're renting it out to another church,
you're not supposed to rent it so low because you're a nonprofit. It's supposed to be at the market rate. And truthfully, if the IRS catches you, they can give you an excise tax penalty for that. Because you're supposed to be renting your halls at the market rate for that area. You don't supposed to be lowballing everybody else because you're a nonprofit. That's not how it's supposed to work.
Yeah. Now, if a person has, just like, I broadcast, and I see other people that are on television or whatever, and they ask for donations. How does that work?
Well, anybody can ask for a donation. However, the big deal is, the 501c3 legally allows you to, if they're not a church, if it's a church, it's tax deductible. Right. But like an organization, a secular one, if they're asking, anybody can ask for a donation. However, the big determinant is it tax deductible? The way we determine in the federal level is tax deductible. You have the 501c3 status. And then it's a tax deductible donation. The beauty of it, and here's one thing people don't understand, when you sign up, when you get your incorporation, the IRS gives you 2 years to file the 1023 for the 501c3 designation. So within that 2 years, because some people don't have that $600, you can, those donations can be considered tax deductible because we're on the understanding that you're going to file your 1023 within 2 years. So you can do it that way. But that's the big thing. I mean, as a for-profit, I can ask for donations. They're just not tax deductible.
All right. So you also stated that business mentors, as yourself, are crucial, and you are selective with whom you work with. So
I'm so sorry.
Tell us, a little bit about, in terms of your mentorship, where people, if they wanted to come to you for, is it a program that you have, or do you do workshops that you do on Zoom or anything like that?
Well, what I'm doing now, one thing I'm doing is teaching at Schoolcraft College.
Okay.
I'm writing, it just started again this year, nonprofit management certification.
Okay.
And so I'm teaching, I think, 6 or 7 classes.
Okay. How long are the classes?
They are Tuesdays and Thursdays from 6 to 9. Each session, they like once a week. So I got my paper.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So we teach ethics in the nonprofit. We have a communication and marketing class, volunteer recruitment, grant writing and research, leadership and governance, financial management, and then we wrap it up in a certification nonprofit class. That's where I'm going to teach strategic planning. Each class is 2 days a week, 3 hours, so it's like 6 hours a week. The grant writing class is 2 weeks, but so that's a 12-hour class. Okay. And so what I'm working on, and you go through Schoolcraft College for that. We're going to start a new session on May 18th.
Okay, May 18th.
Right.
Okay.
But all they have to do is go to schoolcraft.edu/CEPD.
Okay.
Yeah, and look up, and we're going to have an information session, but unfortunately I don't have the date.
Okay.
They're still working out the date. But that's what I do too. Any client, I will give you an hour consultation.
Okay.
And then after that I charge. But I will work with you, find out what your information is. And because I am who I am, I will answer questions. Sometimes it's like, I'll just answer the question.
Well, somebody has a question. Are your classes online? They wanted to know.
This time is virtual. In the summer, we're going to be meeting face-to-face. But I think I'm just going to start recording them. And if you have people, I will come out and speak to them. Okay. I have a workshop. What started Beyond Existing for me, the way it started was I have how to start a nonprofit class. But I can do other workshops.
Okay.
And I can come out for that as well.
Okay. Well, for those of you that have churches or are part of a church, and if you really want your pastor to be educated in some things that she might be able to bring to you, please let your pastors know, give them that number, have them call her, and I'm sure she would be, make arrangements and be more than happy to come out. Somebody else was asking me about a 501c6.
That's for associations.
Okay.
Yeah. It's under the nonprofit law tax code. You can fundraise, but they're not tax deductible.
Okay.
And I don't know a lot about it. I can check it out because I had another group ask me about that. But that's if you have like an association. Now, you can be a 501c3 and be a membership organization, but associations is like if you have the Association of Business Accountants and that kind of thing. But you can be an organization that have members, such as one of my students is Redford Theater. Their chairperson, they have membership. They have members. So, and when you file your state nonprofit incorporation papers, they'll ask you, are you guided under directors or memberships? So what happens with memberships is you have a bunch of members, and the members vote for the members of the board. Okay. Instead of the directors doing it.
All right.
Yep.
Well, this has been, most of the people that are online are saying this has been so informative. They've really gotten a lot out of it and things that they didn't know. So thank you so much.
One more question.
Okay, my director has a question.
I do, because you just got me all enthralled. What about a 508c1a, which I believe is a faith-based nonprofit? Do you know anything about that?
I would have to look that up. Because typically, if you're an ecclesiastical organization, it's kind of different, and I can talk to people about that.
What is it again? Can the audience hear you, Blaine?
Hold on a second.
Okay.
I'm sorry, y'all. This topic got me really excited.
Okay.
I asked our guest today about a 508c1a.
I have to check that one out.
Yeah, I have not heard a lot about it, but from my research, it is a faith-based nonprofit. But I just wasn't sure if you knew anything.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, Arletta, I thank you so very much.
This has been wonderful.
It has. We have to do this again
Okay.
because I know there are people, you can go back and, do the replay. So if you want your pastor to hear some of these if you have some questions or you have friends that you know that want, and I know that want to start a nonprofit, you can go back and get the replay. It's the1.tv. Okay, so go back and look at this later on. Have people that you know that want to start a nonprofit or already have a nonprofit, and you know that they need some additional information. Please have them to listen to this broadcast because this has been wonderful. So
Thank you.
give them your number and where they can reach you.
Okay, 313-829-0034. And I also have a Facebook page, Beyond Existing Enterprises, and that's, you know how they had an ampersand, BEE LLC Detroit. Or you can just look up Beyond Existing Enterprises on Facebook and you can find my page.
Okay.
Yep.
All righty.
I'm so excited.
Thank you.
Thank
Again,
you.
I tell you for your, all of your expertise and information. I mean, the 30 years, believe me, you have expanded and it has grown and even questions that I didn't ask the last time we were together.
Right.
Some information I got, and thank you so very much. And I'm looking forward to even having you back again because I know this is just information that's ongoing.
Right.
It's all, it's always somebody, and particularly now because of the fact of, the COVID and people that are out of work and people are looking for different avenues and ways that they can do different things. And so I really want, this kind of information to get to the people that need and want that kind of information so they can go ahead and do what God is calling them to do.
Right. Yeah. And do it right.
Yes.
Do it in decency and order.
And do it right.
I really believe
and do
that.
it now. That's my motto.
Do it now.
Do it now. Okay?
Right.
All right.
To.
Well,
Thank
this
you.
has been the Marketplace. Thank you so much. This has been the Marketplace Connection. And as always, I enjoy every guest that I have, but I have really enjoyed this today. My producer has enjoyed this today. And so we want you to go back and we want you to look at the information, replay it, give it to people that you do know, pastors, your friends, anybody that you know that is looking to do something in the area of nonprofit, okay? And get with the expert, okay? So thank you so very much. It's been a great day. Again, don't forget, upgrade your thinking, expand your capacity because God wants to give you more. You are more than what you have become. And this information is expanding your capacity so you can use it and run with it. Have a great day.
For unbeatable towing capacity, family-style seating, and an intuitive infotainment system, no one brings the muscle like the 2021 Dodge Durango. Here at Northland Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram. With new headlamps, an updated grille, spoiler, and powerful V8 engine, the Dodge Durango displays the look and feel that makes it stand alone. The Durango is the Dodge family SUV, offering seating capacity for up to 7 passengers, with a handsome steering wheel, dashboard features, as well as a 10-inch configurable home screen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, integrated navigation, and Amazon Alexa capability. So come take a test drive with me, Kenny Thomas Jr. and the 2021 Dodge Durango here at Northland Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram.